Hi, this is Roy Mutalik with DesignPoint, and today I'm going to be talking to you about product data management and how we can use data management software to drive efficiency in our engineering department in the way that we manage and work with our files. So I'm just going to show you a little bit of the software today, and we'll dive right in here and see how we can start to get some of those efficiency gains. Quick agenda for my presentation. I'm going to start here with really what is PDM? What is the goal of having a PDM system? What's it going to do for us? Then we're going to dive into what are engineers best at? Well, it seems like an obvious question here, but really what we're getting at is what are these tasks that engineers are doing that really they shouldn't be doing quite as much as, they're not quite as good at, or it's kind of using up their time when they could be doing other things. And then we'll see how PDM software itself can save us time in a lot of these time-consuming tasks, again, that engineers shouldn't be doing, searching and helping us with standardization. And that's really where we're going to get the efficiencies out of these PDM tools themselves. So with that, let's go ahead and dive right in here. So let's start with what is PDM, or product data management. Product data management software is software designed for really managing your data here. Today we're going to be talking mostly about engineering data, but realistically it can manage all of your data, all of your files there, and ensure that the right people are seeing the right data at the right time. A good PDM system should be intuitive and easy to use, so there shouldn't be a ton of training for your users to be able to get up to speed and work with the files, and you should be able to implement it quite rapidly so that you can really get up and running here and start to see these efficiency gains. It's going to do a few other things for us here. We'll see version and revision control, which are often critical, particularly in engineering, tracking your designs. We want it to be able to improve processes and communication and facilitate design reuse. So we shouldn't be redesigning parts over and over again. We should be reusing components that we've already created. So a good PDM system will allow us to do that. It should also allow us to manage distributed design teams so we can distribute our work effectively across the different engineering groups or different engineers that we have, and further collaboration by allowing us to work with suppliers and vendors. So data management really as a whole is going to give you sort of the single source of the truth where you're able to store all your files effectively. So with that, let's transition here. So what are engineers good at? That's what we want to look at here, and that's what we really want is engineers doing what they're really good at. And I'll give you guys a quick hint here. This isn't a trick question by any means. What engineers are good at is engineering. So no doubt we're maximizing our engineering efficiency when our engineers are doing that engineering and that design work as much of the time as possible. So why did I even come up with this, right? That's super straightforward. That's easy to understand that, of course, engineers are best at engineering. Well, let's take a look at what our engineers are often doing that isn't engineering, and let's talk about some of those. And all too often we see engineering departments and engineering designers stuck in administrative tasks, whether it's just tasks that they have to do or because there's no way to do it or because it's manual. Things like organization of files, like that file structure I've shown on the right side here, making sure that you're able to locate all these standard libraries. Creating a standard folder structure, again, so that users are able to locate what they need to find there. A lot of manual processes. It's a lot of feedback I hear from our customers that we work with here. Engineers spend a lot of time exporting PDFs or DXFs or other file types that other departments need to get out of their engineering software. So from your CAD data, you have to give it to them in a format that they can work with. So a lot of time spent doing that, or just other manual process like verifying or calculating bill of materials by hand. So this is incredibly time-consuming task. It's not design. And of course, the last one, searching for the files that they need in the first place. So for them to actually be designing, they need to find the files that they need to work on. And we get a lot of feedback that spending a lot of time searching and just trying to find the right files, and that's going back to that facilitating design reuse, right? Finding an easy way to be able to locate those files so that we can reuse those. So these are a lot of the tasks that engineering departments and engineering teams are doing that really aren't engineering, and we'd love to, if we could get those off their plate, we can get them back to doing their engineering design and get them more efficient. Here's a quick stat that I pulled that I do like to share. You can read reports like this all over the place. Employees spend 1.8 hours every day, about 9 hours per week on average searching and gathering information. This one came from McKinsey. You can read about this all over the place, how much time that you're spending just looking for the correct information to be able to do your job. So just to quantify this really quickly, what this means, imagine you hire a team of 5 engineers. Essentially, it's as if only 4 show up to work all week. And that's really how much time we're spending searching and just trying to gather the right information to be able to do our job. So lots of reports like this. The one commonality across all of them, we're spending too much time just trying to find the right information and not having it at our fingertips. So let's see how PDM might be able to help us with that in our engineering department. So how can we eliminate this? Well, what we're going to look at here really quickly today is how PDM can automate the standardization of project and folder structures, and how it can allow for full searchability of all files, including by all metadata. So in these 2 examples I'm going to show you, it's going to be faster and easier to create those standardized structures, and we're going to be able to find the right files very quickly based on searchability. And of course, the example I'm going to show you today is in SOLIDWORKS PDM. So we'll take a look at it right there. 2 quick examples. So let's jump right into it here. I'm going to go ahead and launch into PDM. And I'm not going to give a ton of background on this here. PDM itself embeds right into your C drive here, so it's very intuitive. It's just like Windows Explorer. So just go ahead and click on the vault there, and I'm just going to go ahead and log into my PDM vault, putting in my password here. And when I log in here, we see just a standard folder structure, as you might be accustomed to seeing within Windows. And that's all that PDM is a folder structure. I encourage you to think of it just that way. If I go into my engineering folder here, as you might expect, we have subfolders, and within those subfolders themselves, we have subfolder structures further. So each of my project folders here is broken down by CAD files, documentation, ECOs. And this is pretty standard as a way of organizing an engineering team. We need to create this standardization, otherwise there's no way of finding the files that we're looking for. Well, in this particular example here, what I want to do is create a new project. And so it's going to need those 3 subfolders. And this is one of the examples of these time-consuming tasks of standardization that just falls on the engineering team. In order to do this, the engineers would have to manually right-click and create these folder structures. And as you can imagine, they can get quite involved, as on the image I showed on the previous slide. But with PDM, what I can actually do here, I can automate that through something called a template here. So I'm going to tell PDM I'd like to initiate a new project. And in doing so, it's just going to ask me to capture a little bit of information about the project, and it's going to take care of the rest of the standardization on its own. So let's give the project a name here. So we're going to be creating a toolvise. So I'll type that in here. I can give it a description as well, toolvise assembly. I can put in a customer here. I'll put in DesignPoint, and I can pick the project location. And notice I even have options from drop-down lists here for validation of my data. We can select the author of it, so who's in charge of this here. And it's automatically grabbed today's date here. You'll also notice that PDM has automatically grabbed a serial number. So in the back end, it's tracking the serial number, and it's grabbing the appropriate next project number here, as you can see, based on this process. So 430, so 431 would be the next one, which is what it's grabbed for me there. When I go ahead and hit OK to this example here, it's going to go ahead and create that folder. And you'll notice a couple things. It's going to standardize it with the same naming convention as all the others. So the serial number, the dash, and then the name of the project. In addition, if I drill into this folder, we'll see it's automatically created the subfolders as well. And it can even drag some files along as well. So if you have items like spec sheets or some type of correspondence that needs to come along with these, that can be created automatically right within the folder itself there. So these little tasks can really save us a lot of time in the engineering department here. We no longer have to manually create these. And more than that, imagine it towards training. When you hire a new engineer, we no longer have to teach them the processes of how to create this structure. We simply advise them to right-click and create a new project, and they just follow the tooltips on screen. Great. So that's helped us out with standardization. Next, let's look at searchability. So if I drill down into any one of these folders here, you can see there's a wide variety of files that exist within here. And in a lot of cases, these files are even named based on a serial number. So if we take a look in here, they're named based on a serial number. And it can be difficult to find files when that's the case. But within PDM, we enable full searchability of metadata. I'll show you a quick example here. I'm going to go into this heater folder. And let's take a look at a file here. And I have this tab here called the data card. And at the bottom, this is showing all of the metadata associated with the file I have selected. Items like description, material, what project it's in. And the great thing about this is this metadata is linked not only into the SOLIDWORKS file itself, but becomes fully searchable. So now if a user needs to locate this file, they can locate it based on searching based on any one of these fields. So let's do a simple example of that. I'm going to go back to the root of my vault here, and I'm going to go ahead and do a search really quickly. So PDM has an integrated search tool that we can use to search for files right within the vault. We'll tell it we're going to search anywhere in the vault here. And what I'm going to do in this example is I'm going to look for the base component of that heater assembly. So I'll just go ahead and type in my name field here. I'll go ahead and hit base, and I'll hit search. And what we'll see here is it very quickly is going to query the entire vault for any files that have base within their name. In this particular example, there's only one file in the vault that's named base swivel. And if you take a look here, it's actually in my revolving head flashlight folder. So this is not the file that we were looking for in the case of the heater. We wanted the base component of the heater. So in a typical scenario without PDM, we might be in a little bit of trouble here. We're going to have to start digging manually within that or start asking around, which is really time consuming. But within PDM now, we have full searchability based on any field. What I'm going to do here, I'm going to go over to this cards tab that I have created, and I'm going to tell PDM that I know that I'm looking for a SOLIDWORKS part. And within that, let's see if the user captured base within the description. So again, I'll just go ahead and key in base here into one of these metadata fields, and I'll hit search. And very quickly, again, it's going to return for me the results now everywhere that base was captured within the description. Taking a quick peek at my files here, I can see there's only one file located within the heater folder structure, and it's named cabinet. Right-clicking on that file, I can actually browse right to it, and I can take a look, and sure enough, this is the component that I'm looking for. It's the base component of that, the cabinet of that heater itself. So with full searchability based on metadata, it's even faster, it's even easier for us to locate the information, even if it's not captured explicitly within the file name. So typically we would be stuck, or without a PDM system, we might be stuck searching manually, but now we can search based on any of those data card fields. As long as it's captured within the metadata, we can find the file based on it. The last example I want to share with you here real quickly of automating some of those tasks is a common task on engineering of outputting, let's say, PDF documents. So I touched on this one a little bit. Engineering often has to share files, but other users in the company or other team members within a company may not have access to robust CAD tools like SOLIDWORKS. So we have to output PDFs. And it's very time consuming to manually have to go in and open up files to output PDFs. But PDM can automate that process for us. I won't go into a ton of the details here, but in this simple example here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to submit a file for an approval process. One of the things that PDM can handle for us is workflows and approvals. And in this vault, I've set it up that when a file gets approved within PDM, it should automatically output a PDF document into a folder where another user may be able to see it. So let's see that process in action. The engineer is going to go in here and say that this is now passed approval. And we'll hit OK to this dialog. And what we'll see happen in the background automatically, as it approves that file, that task will automatically execute, creating the PDF document. And it'll take just a moment here. You'll actually see it happen on my screen since I've queued it up to happen on just this computer. If you watch in the bottom left here, it's going to actually launch SOLIDWORKS 2018 behind the scenes here. There it goes. It's going to open up that file. It's going to save it down to a PDF, and then it's going to close SOLIDWORKS all automatically. This takes just a minute to do. You can imagine with one file, this may not be terribly time consuming, but if we approved, let's say, a dozen files or 50 files simultaneously, it would be incredibly laborious to have to go through and do this manually. And PDM is going to do it all automatically for you. You can even set it up to happen silently on another machine. We're done here. This document is now approved. And sure enough, if I go back into my PDM vault, I'm going to navigate to my released PDFs folder. If I sort this here by the modified, we'll see the last file that just showed up just a moment ago here, header A. And it's a PDF document. And I can easily go ahead and open that up, and we can see here it is in fact a PDF of that heater assembly that I had been working on. So again, we can set that up to happen automatically at the release of a document, or even just at a right mouse click when the engineer chooses. They can initiate it for dozens of files simultaneously, really to automate some of their work there. So just a couple of quick tools I wanted to share with you: standardization of folder structures, full searchability of files, and of course automation of tasks there. The truth is there's so much more to PDM that I just don't have the time to get into today, but we can look at in future series here. PDM is there for version and revision tracking as well, which, as we discussed earlier, is critically important to your engineering department. PDM does electronic workflows, which we saw a little bit of there. So I showed you an example of an approval and how PDM can handle that. We can do full management of file permissions. So who's able to see the file? Who's able to edit the file? Things like that. We also see PDM, specifically SOLIDWORKS PDM, with integration with other existing applications that every company uses, whether it's SOLIDWORKS or other 3D CAD systems, DraftSite or other 2D CAD systems, or most commonly the Microsoft Office suite. So Excel, PowerPoint, Word. We're going to integrate right with these programs that you currently use to really get the most out of it. And last one I'll highlight for today, notifications even by email. So whenever any kind of changes occur or any processes happen, we can notify the appropriate parties via email automatically through the PDM system. So again, save you that process of the engineering team having to type out an email, hey, I submitted this for approval. We'll just get it happening automatically through that PDM system. So there's so much more to PDM and how it can really save us. So thank you so much for your time today. I hope that you saw a little bit of how PDM can really help us drive efficiency in the engineering departments by removing away some of these time-consuming tasks that really aren't even engineering. Again, thanks so much. And if you have any questions, certainly feel free to leave them as comments for us.